Hello and welcome. Today we're doing chapter 32, Sex, Relationships, and Romance. And it's a fun chapter. And as a therapist, it's so exciting to see how people come in and talk about either their sexual problems or issues or beliefs or things like that so that they can make their relationships better. But I'm going to start by just talking about relationships in general. If we look, having trained with John Gray, who did Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and this isn't across the board because we're learning so much about each other and sexuality, but our brains are very different. In the female brain, there are emotions on both sides of the brain. On the typical male brain, if they go to the logical side, emotions are not shouting out like they are in our brains. And when I learned that, I understood why so many men will say, she's so emotional, or I can't handle her feelings, or does she have to have so many feelings, or she's too sensitive, any of those things. And we can look at men and go, why is he so logical? Why can't he understand my feelings? Why can't he relate to my feelings? And, this happens in work situations, and I really embrace the, non-binary and however anybody identifies. So I would like you to just look at yourself and what dominates your being. But if you look at typically, a man can connect when he has sex with a person, a woman or a person. For a female, we need to connect emotionally and then we might be open to sex. But, things are changing. We're in such a fluid society. I actually do recommend to women, if you can't talk about sex, don't do it because you're not ready. If you're not able to discuss it, ask questions, find out about possible issues, things like that, or even express what's good for you, or saying no, or whatever you might want to do. They've done studies that in a relationship, if sex is good, it takes about 10% of the relationship. But if sex is a problem, it dominates 90% of the problems. So we've got to look at, we're coming into this world with messages about sex, whether it's religious or parents or cultures or whatever. And then we have our own feelings about sex, which we're all different about it. And then we're trying to figure out relationships. And usually we've had more than one relationship. And interestingly enough, what's happened in past relationships, I'm sure you know, interferes with what's going to happen in the next relationship if there was affairs or cheating or dishonesty or disrespect or violence or anything like that. So I want you to look at yourself and really be honest. Be honest about if you were in a relationship with you, how would that feel? Like, I look at myself and go, I'm always so busy. It might be really hard to be in a relationship with me. But we have to be honest. And I've asked couples that question, and it's interesting when I ask how they kind of take a step back and go, yeah, this would be difficult about me. And so we can work on that. If we know what it is that might push people away, then we can work on it. If we're not, if we're in denial and we're not being honest with ourselves, the same stuff is going to happen, relationship after relationship. Then you look at how physical you are as a person. If you're truly very physical, if you look at man's nature, sex is the way to keep the planet going. So sex is a big drive. And if we're ignoring it or tabling it for some reason because of issues, we need to figure out those issues. And honestly, the way people communicate is usually the way they are sexually. If they're good with communication, they're going to be okay sexually. If they're not good, they're not going to be okay sexually. And there is such a thing as chemistry. I mean, there are people that we feel strong chemistry for, and there's others when they come in for counseling and they're saying, I've never been attracted to the person. That's a difficult one. I can't do a magic wand about that. It really is an issue. So we want to look at the chemistry, whether it's the is it pheromones? Yeah, pheromones or whatever that happens, or it's just programming from our childhood of what looks attractive. The interesting thing is that you can also be attracted to people that resemble your childhood. So if you had an aloof parent or a critical parent or whatever, you might find yourself with someone like that. And then you've got to work on those issues because we get into these relationships hoping that we will resolve them this time around. And sometimes we can't. And so we don't want our childhood issues guiding us towards somebody who might be tough or abusive or not really right for us. So just be careful of that. The whole romancing thing, honestly, when I'm working with couples these days, it's like nobody has time for romance. People have less time for sex. I mean, it's just like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? It's what keeps the world going. And it's such an important aspect of our lives. When there's a problem in that area, let's deal with it. Let's figure it out. So if you're going to look at this, and if you're not in a relationship and you want to write down, this is how I want to feel with a person. And you might write down qualities of what you'd like, but it really is the way you feel with the person is going to be the most important part. Do you feel safe? Do you feel attracted? Do you feel free to be yourself? Do you feel like you can laugh and play and enjoy the person and enjoy your life? Those aspects are really important. And then when the romancing part, help your partner to know what works for you and find out what works for you. Do you like to go to a nice dinner, or do you like to know that on Saturday morning you're both going to make time to be together and enjoy the day, or start off with an experience that you're both going to like? We need to coach each other. We're all so different. We assume the other person's going to be like us, but they're not. They're not. Probably found that out so far in your life. It's so fun when I see couples that can laugh and play and be close. And it's so hard when they can't do that and they're holding on to resentments. It's resentments and fear that cause pain in a relationship. Anger can happen as long as you deal with it in a constructive way. But when there's resentment and fear, then we have to look at that and find out how do we calm down the fears so that two people can be together and be open and loving. So it's a wonderful chapter in the book. It has lots of questions and suggestions of how to work on these things. I'll give you another example. One of the things I write in the book is about, like, if you looked on a football field, this is typical. It doesn't have to be true, but typically a guy on the football field goes down and his teammate, another guy, will go up and go, "Get up, buddy. You can do it. You're strong. You can make it." Female would go up and go, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do?" Such different approaches. And the way we approach our male kids as compared to our female kids, we want to teach them because they want to come into their strength, but we want to do that with our girls too. But the females are going to need and want a whole lot more emotional support. So we can do this. We can do this together. Chapter 32, romance, relationships, and sex. So have a good time out there. Call me if you want any therapy. Thank you for joining us, turning fear into courage, facing your fears.